G-Man Boxing. Do you know what I mean? Every single live he donates. I see him on other lives donating. He's got the bag on it.
Alright people, review of the week time. So, talk about obviously the card that happened last night. There's other things that have happened in the week. There's other stories that have broke. There's other news that have come out. But obviously I think we're going to look at the Deontay, Tank Davis, Hector Luis Garcia card. A lot of talk is happening about the main event. And of course I will get to that at the... I'm going to go by the card just from top to bottom essentially. So I'm going to talk about the card, the fights that happened on it, and then I will give my 2 cents on the Hector Luis Garcia card, or fight. And obviously we are looking likely that we're going to get Tank Davis versus Ryan Garcia. The date they're given is April 15th. Alright, now I still think it's a good fight. I really do. I think it's a great fight. But let's talk about the card. It was interesting. The one thing I was looking at was the undercard. I was just, brought it up on BoxRec, had a little snip through, because obviously I only watched the fights of note. I wasn't planning on watching Rashidi Ellis, but I did. I'll touch on that now in a wee bit. Now, Lamont Peterson, what in God's name he was doing on this card is beyond me. He hasn't fought in a couple of years now, but he went out there against Michael Ugdu, I think is how you pronounce it. Michael Ugdu, he won by a 4th round TKO. This was a 6th rounder. And if anyone's thinking, oh, is this maybe a new prospect at PBC? No, he's none of them. He's a Kenyan. There are not too many fighters. He's a Kenyan welterweight. There are not too many of them. He's 40 years old. His alias is Michael Tyson, okay. And he went into this with a record of 16-16. So, I mean, Lamont Peterson had seen better days when he fought Errol Spence. That was 4 years ago, 5 years ago nearly. Because it was January 2018. So why in God's name he's sticking around? And I think that should be evidence that your time's done. Your time is up, mate. No offense, but it's done. So that was on the undercard. Demetrius Andre fought Demon Nicholson. Won by a pretty straightforward 10-round shutout. Had Nicholson down twice in the 10th. It was what it was. It was Demetrius Andre doing what he does. He tends to let a lot of fights go late. He normally does. I mean, very seldom you see him take the bull by the horn and just end it when he can. This was his debut at 168 pounds. I imagine he's probably going to stay at that weight. I've already given my 2 cents on him. I've always felt he was a tremendously talented fighter. I felt that there was a lot of untapped potential there. Potential that was just waiting to be shown to the world. That if we saw him in a big fight, we would have seen the fighter I think is there. At this stage now, he's getting up there in his 30s. Yes, he is still undefeated, but the resume, there is no real depth in it. You probably make a case that Vanes Martirosyan, Vanes Martirosyan's not a bad fighter, but he's probably the best win that Demetrius Andre has had. That's about a decade ago. So he got that win a decade ago, a split decision, and he's never pushed on from there. It's not good. I've really rated him. I do feel as though he would have beaten Billy Joe had they fought in 2018, and I think that would have been really his coming out fight, for want of a better word. I think that he's done himself no favours. At the end of the day, he could have fought Zach Parker. The fight was set up for May. It didn't happen. It was going to get rescheduled. He chose not to go down that road. He would have been mandated to face Canelo if he'd have come through it, and I think he probably would have. He wants that fight. He had a golden ticket to get it. So, I'm not going to shed any tears for him for not getting the Canelo fight, because at the end of the day, you had an opportunity to fight a guy who would have put you in prime position to face Canelo, and you chose not to take it. You obviously felt that the money wasn't right, etc. Well, I'd love to know how much he got for this fight. I really would. I'd love to know how much he was actually paid for this fight. I can imagine it's not even close to what he would have got for Zach Parker, because this was a little run out on an undercard. Boots Ennis. Now, Boots Ennis' opponent really didn't do much in this fight. Karen Hazeni, I think he's Ukrainian. I'm struggling with that last name. He didn't really do much in this fight. Very difficult to look good against someone who's boxing to really just survive. So, you know, it doesn't matter who you are, whether you're Errol Spence, Terence Crawford, or you're in there with someone who's being negative, who just wanted to get to the end. It's difficult to get rid of them. It's difficult to look good against that. Boots Ennis was a run out, first time going 12 rounds. There's not really too much you can say about the performance at the end of the day. When, again, as I said, when you're in there against someone who is being very negative, there's not an awful lot you can do. If their primary goal is to just get to the end of this fight, take minimum damage, and just see the 12th round, at the end of the day, a lot of times they can do that. You know, we've seen that with, not just in welterweight, like, look at most divisions. If someone really has a goal of just, look, Paul Butler nearly did it against Inoue back there just before Christmas. You know, that's down at bantamweight. If their goal is to just get to the 12th round and have a moral, I went 12 rounds with this guy victory, more often than not they can do it. More often than not. So that was Boots Ennis. Rashidi Ellis versus Roman Villa. Now, this was a good fight. This was a really, really good fight. It was a nip and tuck fight, but Rashidi Ellis was getting the better of it, I felt. He was getting the better of it in the most until he was dropped in the last round. He was dropped twice in the last round, 10-7 round. And it was, the first knockdown was off a left hook. And it was just, it was so kind of just, boom, went down. It's like, whoa, what the hell? And then he was obviously dropped again in the last round again. And scorecards are read out. It was a majority decision. I think I have the scorecards here because I don't remember them. Don't have them there. I think they're not on the card thing. I think it was 113, and 114, 112 twice. So I think actually, if the knockdowns hadn't happened, we could have been in a situation where this fight would have been a majority draw. Because if you think about it, if it was a 114, 112, that implies that it would have been a 114, 114 even if you didn't have the 10-7 round. So we could have had a draw. Instead, we had a majority decision win for Roman Villa. Great win. Rashidi Ellis, you know, I've seen him a few times. He's looked alright. That's the best way to describe him. Just alright. Yeah, alright. Obviously, we get to the main event. Tank Davis versus Hector Luis Garcia. Oh boy, where do I start with this? Hector Luis Garcia was never going to win this fight. That's what I got to say on that. He was never going to win this fight. And he quit at the end of the 8th round. He done quite well early on. I mean, the first round, nothing happened. It was literally nothing happened. Hector Luis Garcia, I felt for the first couple of rounds was doing all right. He was getting the better of it. I liked the fact that Tank Davis was going ahead and body. But when you're... See, this is the problem when you have two southpaws facing one another. Very often, you know, with southpaws, there's not many of them. Normally it's southpaw facing an orthodox. When it's southpaw versus southpaw, it doesn't, very seldom anyway, leads to a good fight. Very seldom. You know, it's normally a bit of a nip and tuck kind of affair, and it doesn't normally make for compelling viewing. A bit like this in this fight, but you felt that the weight was on Tank Davis' shots, but Hector Luis Garcia was definitely having his success in there. The reason why I say he was never going to win this fight, if you look at the scorecards, two judges had this fight 79-73 at the time of the stoppage. The other judge had it 78-74 at the time of the stoppage, all for Tank Davis. It was not that type of fight. Hector Luis Garcia did not win one round in this fight. He won more than that. You know, absolutely bizarre scorecards. They really were. And again, it just shows that, you know, Tank Davis, he was never ever going to lose this fight. It was the 8th round. Well, realistically, after the 6th round is when Tank Davis started to really find form. Now, we know about Tank Davis. He can be a bit of a slow starter. We've seen that in several fights throughout his career. We saw it against Rowley. We saw it against Santa Cruz. We've seen it here again tonight. And towards the kind of 6th round, he started coming on a bit more. He landed the big left hand, caught Hector Luis Garcia right about the side of the head. And he did look hurt. This was in the 8th round. He did look hurt. He did look buzzed. But he didn't go down. He defended himself towards the end of the round. He was able to go back to his corner and, you know, he got through it. It did appear to me that the writing was on the walls. And then in the corner, whether it was the corner who stopped it or whether it was Hector Luis Garcia quitting, they waved it off at the end of the 8th round, stating that he can't see. Now, look, right, I'm normally not someone who is too harsh on someone for quitting. because I'm not in that position. But at the end of the day, he's saying he can't see. Well, he was able to defend himself just fine towards the back end of the 8th round. He was able to know where he was in the ring. He was able to hold. He was able to defend himself. So he could obviously see a lot better than he was making it out, in my opinion. I don't know if you would say this was a deliberate dive without him necessarily falling down, or you would argue the case that he just doesn't have it in the heart department, and maybe he knew the end was nigh, and rather than go out there and get knocked out, he felt it was easier to just say no mass in the corner, and that was that. I don't know, but judging by the scorecards that were shown at the end of this fight, he was never going to win this fight. It just seemed like he was never going to win this fight. So for me, I don't know, I just look at that and I just find that suspect as hell. That's me from the outside looking, I just find it suspect as hell. People could look at that and say, what's the issue? You know, we said he can't, blah, 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 blah. Look, you can interpret it whatever way you want. For me, from the outside looking in, what I saw, it did look suspect. For me, it looked suspect. And I'm not normally someone who would say that, but this really did. And again, look at the scorecards. They were never going to give it to Hector Luis Garcia at all. Look at the scorecards. Like, he won more than one round. He did. You know, first round, you could give that to whoever. I thought for the first 3-4 rounds, he was actually doing quite well. There wasn't much happening, but I just felt Hector Luis Garcia was just slightly on top. That's just how I felt watching it. So that was the card in a nutshell. In terms of Ryan Garcia, now, I like the fight. I really do. I don't know what way they're going to do it. I would imagine it's going to be joint with the Zone, probably on pay-per-view. Well, probably not pay-per-view over here, but in America, definitely. In America, definitely, because this was a pay-per-view card, amazingly. In America, it'll be definitely pay-per-view. Over here, probably won't be. Probably won't be. I wouldn't say it would be. And I'd say it'd be exclusively on the Zone over here as well, so probably wouldn't be pay-per-view. How I see that fight going, I think that if we have, because Tank Davis, he is good counterpuncher, I'll give him that. I think if Tank Davis is at his best, he should win. Although saying that, Tank Davis can start slow, Ryan Garcia can start fast. Ryan Garcia is very aggressive. His speed is amazing. His punching power is there. His athleticism, he's just crazy athleticism. I worry about his defense. I worry, will he be able to see the southpaw left hand coming? I think Tank will be able to counter over Ryan Garcia's jab, a bit like how Luke Campbell was able to get him. And I know Tank Davis is a much bigger puncher than Luke Campbell, and he's a much better finisher as well. So I like the fight, I really do. And maybe the closer I get to it, I might start to change my mind. I might watch a bit more of Garcia. I just worry about Garcia's defense. I think and he's trained by Goosen now. Goosen is an all-aggressive trainer. He's very aggressive. His fighters tend to be, the kind of come forward, get the knockout type of fighter. I think Ryan Garcia needs a defensive trainer more so. There's nothing wrong with him offensive. Offense, he's amazing. But defensively, I think there's too many holes there for Ryan Garcia, and holes that Tank Davis can and will exploit if he's anywhere near his best. So that's what I think about this fight in a nutshell. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section on Ryan Garcia versus Tank Davis. What your thoughts are, let me know in the comment section below. Now, the WBC have officially ordered Alan Babbage to face Lucas Ronansky for the vacant WBC Bridgerweight title after Oscar Rivas was sidelined due to a detached retina. Wow. Now, I did see reports, Oscar Rivas has refuted these reports, by the way, that he has to announce his retirement. Rivas has come out and refuted them, but I did see reports like that. Now, Rivas is someone who has struggled with eye problem. I believe he's short-sighted or something to do with his eyes. I know that caused him a lot of issues back in 2016. He couldn't get a license in the States for a while, actually, believe it or not. So a detached retina is very serious. So I would put it like this, I'd be surprised if he might not have announced retirement now, Oscar Rivas, but I'd be surprised if we see him again, because that can be quite a serious issue. We've seen fighters retire with that. Some certain fighters could have happened to them in sparring, and then boom, you're done. So let's see what happens with Rivas. In terms of Babbage versus this guy, Lucas Renanzesk, I've never heard of him. Forgive my ignorance. Let's have an old Google search and see what we're dealing with here. I had that page opened ROZ. This, I should have had this ready. Okay, here we go. I'm assuming he's Polish. That sounds a Polish name. Yeah, it is. So 6'1", 13-0 with 14 knockouts. Okay, that might not go well for Alen Babic because he's so open. His last fight was a first round KO win over Artur Szpilka. That doesn't take a lot of doing. He knocked out Izu Agono back in 2019. I recognise him. Knocked out Michael Sprott in 2018. He really shouldn't be fighting. Any other names that I recognise? His only time going the distance was in 2015. And that was in a 4-rounder. So you'd argue that, look, you could maybe make the case that if that had been over the course of 6-8 rounds, he could have got the knockout. Not the biggest heavyweight in the world. Turned pro at 235. He was 223 against Szpilka. But that was back in May of 2021. So he's not actually fought since then. And again, his weights have kind of fluctuated. Like, he fought this guy here in Poland. He was 243 pounds. So his weights are kind of fluctuating a bit, but it seems now he's fighting in the Bridgerweight division. So he's going to fight Alen Babic. And it's just the fact that I've seen 14-0 with 13 KOs. I fear for that, because if you think about it like this, Babic hasn't really fought any punchers, has he? You know, he's fought... Shondell Winter's not a puncher. KO Kennedy's not a puncher. Who's the other guy he fought? God almighty. David Price fought him. That's gone. He wasn't a puncher. I know he wasn't a puncher. He fought that big, huge heavyweight. He was like 270. But I suppose getting hit by him, like, I mean, you don't have to be a big puncher to hit someone. If you're 270, you're going to hurt someone. He fought, that was it, Mike Bennett or something the guy's name was, who did his Homer Simpson being a boxer impression at Fight Camp. And that's really it. Alen Babic, his last fight, he was actually dropped in. So I worry about Alen Babic. I like watching him. I think he's entertaining as hell. I think he's so fun to watch as Alen Babic. He's crazy. But that style is very taxing on the body. And I think Alen Babic already is starting to show signs that he's looking a bit jaded. Seriously. Already. I just think that style is so taxing on the body. You can only last so long. Now, one thing I'm talking about this because I actually seen, and I have the article here in front of me, that Alen Babic, I think Alen Babic is mandatory. So if Oscar Rivas still had the title, he would have been mandated to fight him. And you look at that Lucas guy with his KO record and you think could be a problem for Babic. Do you know, you're going to laugh at this, but do you know that Alen Babic, if this fighter, who I'm going to mention now in a sec, wanted to, he could have pushed to get named as challenger for the WBC Bridgerweight title, and it could have been Alen Babic. We could very well have had this. Alen Babic versus, wait for it, Deontay Wilder. Yes, I kid you not. So according to World Boxing News, Wilder was actually eligible to compete for the World Bridgerweight crown, the WBC World Bridgerweight crown. The belt became vacant when Oscar Rivas got injured. Should Wilder have lobbied, WBC President Mauricio Sulaiman would have given the green light for Wilder to face the next challenger in the ratings, who I believe is Alen Babic. So we could have had Alen Babic. Just imagine that for a sec, people. That's got tears written all over it. Alen Babic against Deontay Wilder. We could have had that if Deontay Wilder wanted to push on and fight for the WBC Bridgerweight title. Jesus Christ, people. That could have ended. Could you imagine? That really would have ended badly for Alen Babic. Oh boy, I don't even want to think about that. Lord have mercy. That really... And speaking of Deontay Wilder, actually, I was watching one of Hatman's videos where he was talking about the Harold Scones fight, and I wanted to read that World Boxing News article as well. It actually was published originally back in October of last year, technically 2022, because we're into 2023 now. So they were talking about the Harold Scones fight. Now, I know a lot about Deontay Wilder. I followed his career for a very, very long time now. And obviously I knew about the Harold Scones fight, but I never seen it. And if I've heard conflicting reports about that Harold Scones fight prior to reading the World Boxing News article. So I heard other people say in the past that when he was dropped against Harold Scones, that he was in trouble, that he was in big trouble, and he was lucky to get through it, and he came back later and was able to stop Harold Scones, which we know. I also heard other people, and again, these are not Wilder, because you might have a Wilder fanboy or something, but I heard people who are not actually Wilder fanboys who said the complete opposite, that actually the knockdown against Harold Scones, from the clips they've seen, because there's no clips of it, and the reports they've heard as well, that it was similar to this wasn't a knockdown, but it was similar to the clip you see of Deontay Wilder against that big 400-pound lump, Dustin Nicholson. So if you ever seen that, and it's on YouTube, you can still watch it. It's not a knockdown. Wilder's fighting this huge, and I mean he's a unit. This lad. Wilder goes down. It's more like just balance. I think his feet get tangled and he goes down. Wasn't a knockdown. It just definitely wasn't. Some people have said it was like that, but the World Boxing Scene article, it states that Wilder was down for longer than 10 seconds. He was in serious trouble and he got a slow count and was saved by the bell. Haven't we heard that before? Deontay Wilder, this was very early in his career. You're going back to about 2010 with this, but we've heard that before with Deontay Wilder. We've seen it before with Deontay Wilder. I mean, the Luis Ortiz fight springs to mind. I've never in my life have I seen what happened in that 7th round going into the 8th round. Obviously, the 7th round, Wilder got badly hurt by Luis Ortiz. Showed tremendous heart, truth be told. Didn't go down, but he was on the verge of getting stopped. Goes back to the corner, has his minutes rest, and then, only then, the doctor comes and has a look at Deontay Wilder, buys him some extra seconds in the 8th round. Now, it's not unprecedented. In fact, if a fighter's had a really bad round, it's quite common for the ringside doctor to come in and start having a check. You know, this has been practice going back to 78, maybe even longer than that. A very good example would be, his name escapes me now, but Mike Tyson. Oh dear. And he was a world champion. He was a former world champion. The name escapes me. Now he's gone. You know who I'm talking about. He was trained by Angelo Dundee. Pinklon Thomas. I think it was Pinklon Thomas. Was it Pinklon Thomas now? Might not have been him. But you know who I'm talking about. Went, I think, 6-7 rounds with Mike Tyson. Took a tremendous beating. I think it was Pinklon Thomas actually. But he had a very, very hard first round. Horrible first round. Doctor checking on him. Angie Dundee was going nuts in the corner. But he was checking on him during the corner. Not going into the 2nd round when action should be happening. Wilder, there's no two ways about it. And the Wilder fanboys can say whatever they want. Oh, no, you're talking absolutely. He's been protected. And I'm sure there's reasons why there's no clips of that Harold Scones fight online. I'm sure it probably is the case that he was probably dropped badly and got extra time at it. You'll look at that and you'll think, come on, really? How can that happen? And at the end of the day, he's not the only Wilder who's been, I don't want to say protected, but footage of bad performance hasn't come out. A good example would be around about this time, 2019. I think it was the undercard of Keith Thurman versus Josecito Lopez. Wilder's brother Marcellus took his first L against the guy, I think his name was William Dietz. Now, that was again on the undercard of Keith Thurman. I think it was anyway. Undercard of Keith Thurman versus Josecito Lopez. There was no footage of that fight. The only thing we had was the image of Marcellus on the ground. Now, apparently it was recorded, but you cannot find, now you might be able to find it now, but at the time, PBC, they were wiping. I mean, they were having a field day on YouTube, on Daily Motion, on everything. They were wiping all that clean, right? Because they obviously didn't want to see, or didn't want people seeing what happened to Marcellus Wilder. Now, fast forward to later on that year, I think it was later on in 2019, when he goes and fights, it was 2019, definitely, when he goes and fights that guy, I can't remember the other guy's name, but he gets knocked out by a little, like, it did not look a powerful shot, gets nearly knocked out cold by some journeyman. At that point, they were just like, leave it up, ain't no hope for this kid, just leave it up there. We've seen that before. You'll often find that, you know, Mike Tyson, when he fought Larry Sims, there's no footage of that fight. Now, a lot of people claim it's because the camera crew at the time turned up too late, so they weren't able to catch it. It's the only one of Mike Tyson's fights that you'll never be able to find footage of. There is no footage, only pictures. Whereas other people claim that no, actually, the fight was actually it was televised, it was recorded, but Customato, who was alive at the time, I think it was only Mike Tyson's 3rd or 4th pro fight, said no, get rid of the footage. Get rid of the footage. Some people claim it was a good performance, other people claim it was a bad performance. He did knock out Larry Sims in that fight. Joe Cortez refereed that fight, and I've always loved, if I ever got a chance to interview Joe Cortez, I'd always love to ask him about that fight. What actually happened in it, because there's no footage of it. So that's the situation with Deontay Wilder. In boxing news, Ian John Lewis has reportedly gone down the employment tribunal route with discrimination claims against British Boxing Board of Control, as he was downgraded following his scoring of Josh Taylor versus Jack Catterall. It's claimed he's accusing them of making him a scapegoat. His scorecard, if I remember correctly, was very wide in favour of Josh Taylor, and Ian John Lewis has returned very strange scorecards in the past. Very strange scorecards. Him and Terry O'Connor have produced some of the strangest scorecards I've ever seen. And of course, they've had the A side either drawing or winning. I'll never forget when Ray Vargas fought Jamie McDonnell 4 or 5 years ago now. It's a while ago. But that was for the vacant WBC, I think it was the Super Bantamweight title. And Vargas won that fight, and he won it comfortably. And I think it was Ian John Lewis somehow scored the fight a draw. There was no way Jamie McDonnell wasn't really competitive in that fight, but somehow he managed to score that fight. Yes, a draw. So he has a history of it. He has a history, believe you me. And he's done some absolutely shocking scorecards in the past. Another good example would be when he was the referee and he was scoring, was when Miguel Vasquez fought O'Hara Davis. Straight away, instantly, O'Hara Davis wins. And I think he gave it to him by quite a wide margin. O'Hara Davis himself acknowledged the fact that he didn't win that fight. But of course, Ian John Lewis, it's just subjective, isn't it? No, it's not. Because the A side seems to always get... If they don't get the decision, he's trying his best to give it to them. So for him to get downgraded, I've never really had an issue with him as a referee per se. He's made a few mistakes in fights, yes. But look, him as a judge, yeah, downgrade. You clearly can't do your job as a judge, so why should you be rewarded with these big fights? The pay-per-view price for Chris Eubank Jr. versus Liam Smith will be £19.95. I do believe, is that not normally what it always is? In terms of the undercard for that fight is starting to take shape now. And I quite like the undercard, truth be told. I think it's looking to be a decent enough undercard. I think Congo versus, is it Esmond? I always get his name kind of not right, as I do with many fighters. But I like that fight on the undercard. Fraser Clark, Joe Parker, etc. So we're definitely doing a watch along. I'm going to pay for it. I am going to pay for it. Why not? The main event's going to be good, and I'll definitely pay for it. We'll do a live watch along for it, January 21st. Yes, we will lock and load. We will have the TV on there. We'll have the couch going there. I will be watching it. We'll be drinking cranberry juice all night. There you go. But no, definitely looking forward to that card. I think it's going to be a good main event. I think it's going to be a good fight. I think stylistically they're going to gel pretty well together. So Eubank Jr. actually was... I like Eubank Jr. is becoming more and more likeable. I wish we had this Eubank Jr. a couple of years ago. Because when he went to ITV and started doing his own thing, obviously he was with Eubank Sr. at the time. And he was just coming across as this arrogant villain. And just very unlikable. Very unlikable. And now he's trolling his opponents, but he's doing it in such a... He's funny. We're seeing I think we're seeing the real Chris Eubank Jr. come out. And I don't think he's putting as much pressure on himself as he was back then. I really enjoy watching Eubank Jr. like this. We see him make a steak and say that this is how he's going to... This is what he's done to this steak is what he's going to do to Liam Smith. And I really enjoy seeing the trolling. It's funny. I think Eubank Jr., why couldn't we have had this Eubank Jr. a couple of years ago? Why couldn't we have had him a few years ago? Because I think he is tremendously entertaining. I really do. So looking forward to that fight. Jake Paul has declared that he's willing to fight Tommy Fury on February the 18th in his hometown of Manchester. I've done everything in my power to make the fight, including offering to go to Manchester for February the 18th in partnership with Frank Warren. Tommy Fury then came out and said that he will fight. He called out Jake Paul to fight in the UK for free, with all the proceeds going to charity. Where have we heard that before? Chip off the old Fury block, as I said. So Tommy Fury, right? So despite the fact, right, he has had the opportunity to fight Jake Paul twice and has pulled out twice. And Jake Paul saying last year that he'll actually go to the UK, but he's going to offer Tommy Fury £500,000 to fight him. And Tommy Fury actually came out and had the audacity to say he doesn't get out of bed for that amount of money, wouldn't get out of bed for 500 grand, despite the fact in his career he's not made anything close to 500 grand. He actually fought in America in 2021 and he got paid 11 grand for it, but for some reason 500 grand isn't enough. Yeah, make that make sense. He's now coming out and really copying what his older brother Tyson does in saying, let's fight for free and we'll give the proceeds to charity. A man of the people, eh? Tyson Fury. Whatever happened to that purse from the Wilder fight? Did he ever donate that to charity? I don't know. Mystery. In terms of fighting for free, haven't we heard that before? Oh yes, I'll fight Anthony Joshua for free on terrestrial TV, but I want $500 million to fight Alexander Usyk. Yeah, make that make sense. Man of the people, wanting to give back, fight for free, put a complete mismatch on pay-per-view for the best part of £30. Just before Christmas as well. Yeah, that doesn't quite jive with that, does it? Now, Tommy Fury coming out and saying that, look, Tommy Fury, with him, I've said it once, I'll say it again, I really don't think he's in boxing because he wants to. I think he's doing it maybe to try and prove something to his dad and to his brothers, because he, even before all this Jake Paul stuff came about, he never seemed to really want boxing. It just seemed to be something he did. He wants the fame, but I don't think he wants to put in the work. He's never made 175 pounds. He's always come in over the light heavyweight limit. He came in by a crazy amount that they had to do an exhibition in November at that KSI card, was it? Or it was some kind of card that he was fighting on. So this is a guy, in my opinion, who's never took his career serious, who doesn't take boxing serious. Now he's getting an opportunity to have a real fight, because a lot of the guys he's fought have never even had a win on their record. They've had so many losses. It's a crazy amount. I think when I was reading through his box record, it was over 100 losses with no wins some of the guys had. Crazy. So now he's got an opportunity to make some good money, and it just seems like he's being difficult. Pulled out in 2021. I'm aware that there was the issues with El Chapahan last year, but obviously Jake Paul tried to reschedule it and Fury was like, So, look, it just looks that way. I was watching Hatman's video on this and he was saying that he heard a rumour, it was a rumour, that Tommy Fury was knocked out in sparring and that John Fury kicked the person out of the gym. Now, I've heard rumours similar, but I've never heard of him being knocked out. But I have heard of John Fury kicking people out of the gym because they've been giving him the business in sparring. I've heard of that, but not a knockout. Not a knockout. I haven't heard that one yet. Would it shock me? No, because I don't rate Tommy Fury. And people keep saying, you really like knocking him. It's not that I like knocking him. I don't know Tommy Fury. He could be a nice guy, but judging by some of the videos I've seen of him, I doubt that very much. I just think that when I see, and like his brother, when I see them talking absolute nonsense, I'm going to call them out on it. Because, you know, that's what we do. We're here. The whole point of, because boxing, what we do here, people like me, Hatman, Chris, etc., Outmatch, we are reporting on these things. And as reporters should do, although most of them don't, I'm not talking about boxing on YouTube, just in general, when people contradict themselves and they make statements, silly statements, it's your job to go in and dissect it. It's your job to call them out when they're talking absolute BS or they've contradicted themselves. So I don't understand why people get upset when they say, oh, you're going in a bit there on Tommy Fury or Tyson. Well, they've said this in the past and now they're contradicting it, so why shouldn't they? You know, they should just act like, you know, oh, now he's saying he wants it for free, so he's going to obviously want the fight. Look, I don't know what the story is with Jake Paul, Tommy Fury. I want to see it. I want to be entertained. I like the fight. I'd pay to watch it. I'd do a watch along for it 100%. I'd make Jake Paul favourite because he seems to actually be pushing on. Again, Jake Paul, a YouTuber. He's a YouTuber. And Tommy Fury has, you know, he's the fighting name, the Furies. I wonder, I've said it once, I'll say it again, is Tommy Fury in boxing just because, well, his dad was in it, his brother is in it, you know, fighting family, so if I don't do it, I'm the black sheep. Maybe that's the way he's looking at it, I don't know. But from what I've seen, look, Tommy Fury ain't going anywhere. In my opinion, anyway, he ain't going anywhere. Stanionis versus Virgil Ortiz for the WBA regular welterweight title is reportedly set to be postponed. It was originally set to take place on March the 18th, but Stanionis had an emergency appendectomy on Friday. So his manager, Shelley Finkel, revealed they're going to hopefully make it in April. Well, I hope they do. I really, really hope they do, because I love that fight. I think that fight is absolutely tremendous. Lastly, Frank Warren has revealed they have sent Alexander Usyk's team a drafted contract for the Tyson Fury undisputed fight to take place in March. So they've sent the contract. That could mean literally anything. God only knows what the contract states. I hope that it's a legit one, and that whatever's on it is legit, and we can get this signed, we can get it sealed, we can get it over the line. I want to see Undisputed. I want to see Undisputed Heavyweight so bad. Hopefully we can get it done in March. The date of March 4th, I'd say, realistically, I'd say it's probably going to be later in March. I just have that feel it's going to be a bit probably later in March, maybe mid to late March. But if we can get it in March or early April, I will be so happy. And I hope we do get it. I hope we're at the final stages now where this does happen. We get it over the line. We get Fury. We get Usyk. They have their fight. Let's see who the best is. Let's see who the number one at heavyweight is. Let's see who the best is. I can't wait for it. I hope we're going to get it. I hope this is all good signs. I really am optimistic about this. I'm really hopeful about it. Leave it there, lads. I think I've gone on a little bit longer than I originally planned. I'm doing this. I might even get this up on Sunday, because it's only 6:20 now. I'm just going out for dinner with some friends now, so I know I won't get back in time to record this tonight. So if all goes well, I might even, and the Wi-Fi is good in the restaurant, I might even upload this tonight. I might upload it tonight. But if the Wi-Fi is absolute crap, then tomorrow morning, as always. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I hope you enjoyed the video, people. Of course, as always, if you could, smash the like button. Help support the channel in whatever way you can. I'll try and get another live up this week. I enjoyed the one we did on Thursday. Let's do another one this week. Let's keep the ball rolling, people. Let's keep it all going. I'm enjoying making these videos. Not that I ever didn't, but I'm enjoying it more now. It's been fun. The channel is getting there. We're about roughly 140 or so subs away, 160 subs away from 10k. Let's do it. Let's do it towards the end of the month, and let's push on. Let's push on. Let's get to 15 by the end of the year or so, maybe more. Who knows? Let's push on. Let's push on with this. In terms of everything else, I hope you all have a great week. I hope the phone rings, as I always say, with some good news for someone. I've no doubt it will for myself. We're all trying new things. I've got a lot of stuff going on outside of here. Nothing bad, of course, nothing bad. But I'm trying to push on, and hopefully we can get some stuff sorted outside of YouTube, personal stuff, this week or early next week, and yeah, we can really have a good time. We can put the past behind us, and we can look ahead. Let's hope it's like that for everyone else watching. For now, I'll leave you with that. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe, of course, if you haven't already. Help your boy out. If I haven't already said that, please do, because it does actually it helps quite a bit. I'll leave you with that, people. Peace.